Welcome, everyone, to episode 5 of 55 in 5. We're 5 into 121 cards of the 1955 Parkhurst set, Cary.
The stars are aligning. 5 in 5 in 55. The fifth episode.
Can you imagine when we get to 55? It'll be 5 fives. What a thrill. This is presented by Bisson Creative, by Uncle Gunny, by Captain Lou Albano, by Last Stop Penn Station, Ian Riccaboni, Cary Silkin. Cary, we had some notable names, some Hall of Famers, some headliners, and then we had Jack Claiborne last week, our last episode.
Well, I'm going to do some, I have to look some things up because there's a name that I had no knowledge of. I'm glad that your notes hit me to that. We also got to speak about completely segregated wrestling,
right?
Which I didn't know existed.
Both new to us.
So, yeah, that was they're all good episodes. Now, who are you going to throw at me this week?
Well, this is why the 5 is important, because sometimes we have guys like Jack Claiborne where we have a little bit of information. Sometimes we have Vern Gagne, a guy with a lot of information. This is somebody that might even have more information than Vern Gagne. He was one of the biggest stars in the 1950s into the 1960s, headliner in Madison Square Garden. And Cary, you only have 5 minutes to tell us about this man. I'm going to show it to the camera first. I'm going to show it to you. Do you recognize this man?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Do you want to tell the folks at home who this is? And then I will set the timer because, Cary, you have to give us a 5-minute history lesson. I have the safety net if for whatever reason.
Well, I want to hear your notes. But yeah, now here on the card, it's Argentina Rocca. And also...
Going to start the clock now.
Also was billed as Antonino Rocca.
Right.
Which is strange because when he was a superstar of the television era, particularly in the Northeast, nationwide, but really hit big in New York City. And he was from Argentina, but I think they played him off as that he was Italian.
Yes. Yeah, he migrated to Argentina, but they really emphasized that he was Italian.
And his tag team partner, do you know who that?
He eventually became Bruno Sammartino.
But when they were before Bruno was around, Miguel Perez.
Oh,
so that was so.
Wow.
Antonino Rocca, he headlined the Garden in the late 50s into the early 60s, mainly in tag action.
Yes,
I believe he had to have singles titles.
He did, but you're right. Tag team action was really his forte, and it was really Capitol Wrestling in Madison Square Garden. They started the formula. It was almost like the Bruno formula, where he'd have a partner, something would happen, then he would feud with his partner. A lot of the times, it was kind of that pattern that you'd see. Yeah,
well, there was a period of time, probably like from 58 until the early 60s, where the tag team was the feature, as opposed to. There was problems with, was it Buddy Rogers was the WWF champion, or right. They really didn't have a solid singles champion. I'm probably not verbalizing it correctly, but
sure,
the tag team was the feature attraction most of the time.
They didn't really get the NWA champion much. And Buddy Rogers, he actually, quote unquote, defeated Argentina Rocca in 1963 in the Phantom match in the Phantom tournament in Rio de Janeiro.
They're always in Rio de Janeiro. Did you know that Antonino Rocca, when he had a falling out with Vince McMahon Sr. around 1962 into 63, started his own promotion?
I didn't.
And our friend, George Napolitano, the Ansel Adams of wrestling photographers.
Okay.
And he's a Brooklyn guy. They used to tape at Sunnyside Gardens. And you know where they got their talent from? They got their talent from Jim Crockett Sr.
Really?
They would import guys. The promotion only lasted for about a year.
Wow.
And I have some posters. We'll have to pull one out for our next episode. But yeah, he mended the wounds with the McMahons and later went on to be an announcer.
He did in Allentown, my hometown of Allentown. All-Star Wrestling, Championship Wrestling, 72 to 76.
Which was bizarre because he had a very heavy accent.
Right, and some of those survive to this day. He actually did commentary with Vince McMahon Jr. And it was interesting because you brought up the schism, which is the word of the show, the schism with the McMahons in 62 and 63. Had one before that. Do you know who that was with?
No.
Jack Pfeffer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Everyone had a schism with him.
It's more like an affair with Jack Pfeffer because Jack Pfeffer got either exclusive or semi-exclusive rights to the Garden in 59. And did you know that Argentina Rocca drew the biggest house in Madison Square Garden history to that point in 1959? Do you know who his partner was? Jack Pfeffer promoted it.
Well, if it wasn't Miguel Perez, they might have had him with Eduardo Carpentier.
Oh, excuse me, his opponent. I messed
it
up.
Was a singles match?
It was a singles match. This was his most notable singles match because his matches later with Bruno, who was his partner, did not draw a particularly large box office, which was surprising.
And what year was this?
59.
I was going to say Dick the Bruiser, but he might have been banned from New York. Killer Kowalski, maybe?
The Amazing Zuma.
Yeah, there's another odd duck.
Amazing Zuma, who is not in the set, I don't believe. So I don't believe we'll get to talk about him. But very temporary arrangement, not a super notable guy. That was at the Old Garden. That was 49th and 50th Street.
Yes.
So that's why the attendance is a little bit bigger than we're normally used to seeing there. But Argentina Rocca, one of the biggest legends, inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame in 95, Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. You name it, he's in it. And Cary, this might be the first one we go to the 5 minutes.
Well, Antonino Rocca, an excellent selection. Another thing about him and you could watch the old All-Star Wrestling. Did you ever see the one where like his hair, it was like so disheveled, it looked like it was a toupee, but it wasn't.
Which is incredible. Oh, there's the timer. Toupee talk, we'll have to wait for another day.
Okay.
But we'll talk about Bruno's toupee maybe at some point. But Antonino Rocca, maybe the biggest star so far, with due respect to Vern Gagne.
That was a lot of fun.
Antonino Rocca, a lot of fun talking about Argentina, Antonino Rocca. You call him whatever you'd like, but a great card. One of my favorites in the set. So 5 down, 116 more to go. We will trudge along. We're hoping you're enjoying these quick history lessons, these quick bites of history with Cary and I. For Uncle Gunny, for Captain Lou, for Bisson Creative, and Last Stop Penn Station, it's Ian, Cary, Lamb Chop, and our producer AJ. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, 55 and 5.